Hello, everybody. My name is Becca from Soul Based Life, and today I wanted to do a small presentation on the Law of One. A lot of the teachings within Ascension mechanics refer back to living within the ethics or living within a heart based ethic style of living within the Law of One. And there are a lot of different references to the Law of One when we start to really research it and understand its foundations. So some of the first things that may come up that you may notice will be some of the raw teachings, which was the channeled teachings that came through from the raw group that was bringing forth the law of one. And in that, they were really teaching a lot of perspective about different things within this planetary system and how our civilization and how our teachings have progressed and how living through the law of one or this essence of unity is really what we progress towards as we advance within our ascension path. Some of the other places where you will find information on the law of one is within Keylontic science or within the teachings of ascension mechanics. And also, some of this teaching also comes from some of the energetic synthesis. Foundational work is based within the law of one. Each one has its own way that it speaks about it, each one has its own way that it verbalizes different things, but I'm going to actually bring all of them together today because you're hopefully going to be able to see what resonates right for you, what really resonates for yourself and your heart and your soul, but maybe even be able to see the thread of commonality between all of these different sources and again being able to pull what works or vibrates appropriately for you. So within the law of one, it's really about living in harmony with universal law. And I like to think of it as really coming to a place of becoming unaware or stepping up into taking ownership and being more adult in our galactic citizenship and starting to really take responsibility for the things that we are thinking, experiencing, and doing within our life and in our reality, and realize that not everything is just happening to us, but that we are co creators of this whole experience. And we have the ability to start to become sovereign again and take that power back. And that power isn't about creating dominance and control. That power is about really investing within ourselves, that self awareness that we are part of the all. And within that, in this unity based consciousness, we see how all flows together, regardless of the polarity that many things may be expressing at this point in time. And so when we start to take that sort of adult perspective, start to wake up to understanding how each of our thoughts is creating ripples out and how each of our actions is creating cause and effect within the universe, then we can begin to apply that to our everyday life, apply that to our emotional body, our mental body, our spiritual body, and every aspect of us so that we can, in essence, begin to surrender and release and let go of all of that polarity or that charge or that trauma that we hold deep within us, that may be locked within us from past life experiences, from childhood experiences, from even galactic experiences that may have happened that we are holding within our DNA. And as we start to take our sovereignty and our power back and begin to really allow ourselves to clear out all the miasm and bring a neutral, compassionate witness and perspective to everything that we're holding within, this allows us to begin to apply the law of one into each of our actions and thoughts and clear out all of that so that as we become these galactic adults, these galactic citizen adults, then we are completely being aware of how each of our effects is affecting every other being within reality. And so as we start to move towards looking at the law of one, I wanted to start with the Keylontic science and read just some of the clips from the site and how this perspective has described the law of one. So they work a lot with information that has been brought through from CDT plates, which is, if you want to kind of look at it in a broad scope, it's basically a galactic library database of a lot of the history and, most importantly, the mechanics about how our 15-dimensional time matrix functions, how we are all the micro and macro, and how all of these systems within kind of perpetuate out with similar patterns in just to larger bodies. So how our cellular body is actually a smaller manifestation of how our physical body is manifesting, is a smaller manifestation of how the planetary body is manifesting, and that is a smaller manifestation of how the galaxy and then the cosmos, the universe, etc., is functioning. And so when you start to understand the mechanics, then you also have a better understanding of what is happening and how to direct your thoughts, feelings, emotions, and your breath, your mechanics, your energy, your focus, your consciousness when you do things, and understanding your part in directing energy through your intention. This way, once again, life isn't happening to you. You are being a co-creator of this reality. You are being a co-creator of your experience and really stepping into that aspect of being in that unity field again. So just reading here, the ancient MCEO, which is the Melchizedek Cloister Emerald Order. The ancient MCEO order perspectives teach of the inner Christos, or the living God source, alive within all things, including the natural environment. Inner Christos philosophies are built upon the understanding what is referred to as the law of one. Inner Christos law of one perspective respectfully acknowledges the interconnection, interdependence, and intrinsic value of all components of reality in recognition that the living consciousness, God's spirit, or inner Christos, is the tangible substance of consciousness and energy from and of which all things manifest are composed. That's really a powerful way of saying that everything has a connection on multiple different layers. That is part of a living consciousness. Starting to understand the law of one is really understanding this idea of consciousness, that each thing, each being, each dimensional reality and everything within it holds levels of consciousness, and that this is a living consciousness, which is experiential forms for God's spirit, that it's experiential forms for the all that is to have experiences within this time dimensional reality. Living consciousness, God's spirit, or inner Christos, is alive within all things, promoting affirmative action, personal empowerment, and environmental appreciation through applied spiritual optimism within a framework of practical realism. Within a foundation firmly rooted in love-based egalitarian spiritual humanitarianism, the law of one paradigm incorporates exploration of unified field physics, quantum theory, and ancient light sound scalar waves, Merkaba mechanics, and esoteric sciences into intelligent investigation of holistic spiritual psychology, physiology, theology, sociology, and cosmology principles. So that's a mouthful. Really, again, saying that we can start to apply this unity field, and then it doesn't just apply to, say, quantum physics or quantum theory, that maybe we're exploring even cosmology or the planetary structures or the ley lines on this planet or whatever energy fields that we may be looking for, actually have a correspondence on all of our bodies. And when we look at the raw material later, they talk about the mind, body, spirit complex, which is really a beautiful illustration of how all of these bodies merge together and entangle within each other. So they're really just different vibrational frequencies holding information. So we can realize that whether we're understanding psychology, so if we're trying to understand our past childhood traumas or events, or why we came into the childhood and the family line that we came into, or if we're trying to understand religious history or sociology and the unified field of how human beings interface within one another, within this planetary system together, and then let alone that, we start to get to exopolitics, where we start to understand how we are interrelating with other beings from other planetary systems and different races and different beings who are not from just planet Earth. So as we start to see that, we actually can find the commonality of seeing that this inner Christos in God's Spirit actually weaves through all of it. It has an experience within all of it. And that at its foundation, that this foundation is rooted in a love-based energy. It's a love-based frequency of energy that it naturally wants to gravitate towards that, because when you think of love, love is that ever-giving energy that is expansive. And if you were to think of the polarity of love, which may be fear, and that we can see that has a contractive energy to it, and that there is always that polarity that can move throughout this experience of time, but that in truth that love has that expansiveness within the experience that is holding more of the resonant frequency of the living consciousness of God's Spirit, or the inner Christos. And we're also going to move forward in some of what we're going to talk about, how really stepping into the inner Christos, really that embodiment, isn't about holding polarity anymore. It's about stepping out of fear and moving into a place. So it's not about really holding one energy up for team darkness or another energy up for team light. It's not about good or bad, right or wrong. That there is none of that polarity within it, but that we actually come into a neutral perspective. It's that neutral, compassionate witness, where we are witnessing it, but again, at the firmly rooted at the foundation, it's a love-based, egalitarian, spiritual humanitarianism within it, which is just saying that it's holding compassion, a love-filled compassion with the witnessing, because in truth, it's that being that gentle, compassionate witness that is always inviting all the energy to come home, back into the love, back into that being. But love isn't the root of what the goal is. It's the foundational fabric of all of this creation, but it's not the goal. The goal is really that experience. The goal is having the experience within this reality, and that we can have any of these experiences we want. We can be playing whatever the archetypes that we want. But at the same time, when we choose, when we want to have that Christ star turnaround, where we start our ascension path, our remembrance path, back into our higher evolutionary bodies, our soul body, our oversoul body, our Christ avatar God self, that what we're doing is we're bringing more conscious awareness. We're growing up. We're becoming more and more and more adult and adept within how every thought, feeling, and emotion and everything we do is having ripple effects within all of creation. So I want to read now from the energetic synthesis site. And I really resonate with so much, actually so much with both of these bodies of work. I came across them and they just really sang to my heart. I will absolutely, again, offer for each of you, find what resonates for your heart. I would never suggest to take the whole of anything. Find the bits and pieces that resonate for you. And these are some of the bits and pieces that have really resonated for me and I wanted to share with you. So from the energetic synthesis site, this is saying that the law of one is the comprehension that all things are made of intelligent energy and are part of the all one. The law of one is a sacred science of the mechanics of Christ consciousness and are the natural laws governing our universal creation. All one is the recognition that eternal truth is eternal love, and eternal love is the organic consciousness of infinite creator, or God. Eternal love consciousness embodied in a form is unity intelligence and simultaneously recognized as the inner light of Christos. The inner light of Christos, when actualized in form, is the embodiment of an eternal God human. And being an eternal God human is to be at one with all, as one is all with God. That's beautiful. Really the embodiment of of eternal God human, an eternal God human, an infinite being. Every soul is taking the same journey, but each soul has evolved at different levels. The teachings of the law of one describe the spiritual laws that govern our spiritual evolution for each dimension. It is a single philosophical system of world humanism, which merges cosmology, science, human rights, and spiritualism. Simply put, the law of one is the universal truth that all is one. It is the truth taught by Christ when he proclaimed, "Love your neighbor as you love yourself." We are all direct expressions of the one source, God source. The law of one is an energetic reality as well as a creational covenant with the founder races. The law of one is practiced by the advanced races that promote self-responsibility and accountability in our universal time matrix through the comprehension of the energetic interconnection that exists between all living things. The law of one expresses and acknowledges the interconnection value and the interdependence of the spirit and consciousness that animates all things. Wow, and just looking at that, there's a couple things I want to just touch on. That this also talks about that the law of one is practiced by the advanced races. So when we actually get onto the next slide, we're going to be starting to get into the law of one material through the raw group. But just understanding that there are a lot of people bringing through information right now through Andromedan races. Alex Collier actually has a lot of great information from the Andromedan perspective. But there's information that has come in, as we can see from the Keylontic science, that is from the Melchizedek order, which is also one of the founder races. And understanding that advanced races is really just races that are much, much older than us, much, much more evolved than us. Honestly, within the entire cosmology of the universe and the cosmos, we are like infants. We have really no understanding of what we are doing and what taking responsibility for our actions really is. Just to give a perspective on this too, if we start to understand moving into the mental planes, moving into the more telepathic planes, because most of the advanced races are not always using a physical language. They are the majority of the time communicating more on a telepathic and an interconnected unity basis. In that kind of a language, in a light language, which is extremely fast. It's downloading packets of information simultaneously and continuously. So it's not limited by a language. And therefore, the heart has to have a purity to it. The intent behind it has to have a purity to it. And part of what our journey is in this reality is to begin to clear up all of our shadows. I personally feel that one of the biggest shadows in this reality, and in this earth plane especially, is the idea of secrets. That secrets is really one of the most foundational things that is creating such disharmony on this planet. And that transparency, the telepathy that we can have with each other through that unity field, is a complete surrendering to be open, to be transparent with all of our thoughts, feelings, and emotions. We're not at a place that we can be that right now because there's so much hurtfulness. People are thinking thoughts all the time that are not Christ-like based or unity based. And when we think of that, if you imagine taking thoughts that are hurtful or harmful, or even on a whole other level, understanding that on many of these dimensional planes and with the advanced races, they're able to not only telepathically communicate or share information through a very advanced light language, but they're also able to manifest through thoughts and intentions almost instantaneously, or in many times instantaneously, and be able to thoughts and intentions create things. And imagine if we're there with our lower density, so say our insecurities, our fears, our all of our lower chakra based beliefs and programs and ancestral teachings and beliefs and all of that that we've been carrying on that have been our limitations in here, because it's part of what's been keeping us subservient here and buying into the domination and control, is that we've allowed fear to be the motivator. And also understanding how secrecy plays. A lot of times secrecy isn't like a big thing, like we may think secrecy on a governmental level or something. Secrecy can be as minute but yet as detrimental as, say, something happened when you were a child and you vowed to never speak of it, or you were so embarrassed about something that you did when you were 3, 4, or 5 years old that you hid it and you never shared it, and you would never tell anybody that you're the one that maybe accidentally broke a toy or did something, or just use your imagination to all the different scenarios that we have been hiding wounded parts of ourselves, wounded inner child, wounded situations, where we've used defense mechanisms to come up and cover up why, you know, we don't want to let our true emotions out and let others know, because it's vulnerable to put ourselves out there and potentially get hurt, potentially get ostracized, or not included within the tribe anymore. So secrecy comes in so many different levels. It's not just some big government cover up. We are doing it. Everyone has done it at some degree, not been a completely transparent, open disclosure of their own full energy field. And this realm isn't quite ready for that yet, because of how it's operating with a lot of the nefarious energies and the reversal energies that are happening on this planet. But understanding as we start to evolve within our growth, that part of that evolution into our growth, into being in a place of wanting to be moving towards an advanced race, that we are going to have to deal with that. We will have to let go. We will have to purge the lower chakras. We will have to become at such a place where our mental thoughts are so pure and so clean that they are shareable. And part of that is going to be having something like the law of one, understanding that law of one is eternal love consciousness, that it is embodied in a form as a unity intelligence, and it's part of us as the inner light of Christos. So also, just if you could look at the Keylontic science as it describes the law of one, and even the energetic synthesis site as this site describes the law of one, there are so many aspects of it that just have such a beautiful resonance frequency. So again, if it resonates for you, I would invite you to explore it a little bit more. I want to step into a little bit of the raw teachings. And as I start this, I'm actually going to go into another document and read some more of what they've written. But again, these are what we would call an advanced race of beings. They're the raw collective. And their perspective is that they had tried to share at different times in past history on Earth some of the law of one teachings. But unfortunately, there were distortions in the translations of it, because again, remember, we try to process all of universal language or light language through our brain, our mind, and then through thoughts, and then through language. And then that language has to be shareable. But if you can even understand that when people translate from one language to another, a lot of times stuff gets lost in translation. So they had tried to share the law of one teachings multiple times. And in that, they said distortions were created. It was misunderstood on this planet, and therefore some of the teachings got used incorrectly, or in means of, say, maybe domination and control. And so their attempt with coming to share this information again was to help to alleviate or to balance some of the effects that have been created in past timelines when they tried to share it previously. And what's really great for us to understand, because some of us may wonder, how come, some of these advanced races don't just come in and stop all of this terrible stuff that's happening on the planet? Well, one, there is the free will that happens within this creation. Two, Within this density, any advanced race that makes contact or gets involved in any way, shape, or form, for example, this raw collective, they become entangled. So if whatever their energy is that they share within this reality, if it gets distorted and karmic miasma gets created around it, now they're intertwined with this reality. This is a lot of what's happened with the Pleiadian energy, and a lot of other star systems that have worked here, is they've actually come in to help or to do or have interfaced even their DNA on many levels. That the DNA is part of our makeup, and therefore they're linked to our karma here, and therefore a lot of their investment in assisting us is so that they too can continue to evolve, because we're kind of like a ball and chain, honestly, within the dimensional realms. Until we can ascend and evolve within our ascension path and within our remembrance and awakening, it's kind of like we're a tether holding them back. And so it's also great importance for them, for us to be able to remember all of this information. So the Raw, again, collective came to share this information again in order to try and clean up a lot of the distortions around the teachings that they were sharing. Really being very clear that this is not a religion, this is not something that is meant to create dogma or rule around, but it's really about an ethics or a way of being, and just an understanding on how all things are within the creation of the infinite creator. So the Confederation of Planets, in the service of the infinite creator, has only one important statement. And that statement, my friends, as you know, is all things, all of life, all of creation is part of one original thought. We are not those of love or of light. We are those who are of the law of one. In our vibration, the polarities are harmonized, the complexities are simplified, and the paradoxes have their solution. We are one. That is the nature and our purpose. We are old upon your planet and has served in varying degrees of success in transmitting the law of one, of unity, of singleness to your peoples. Consider, if you will, that the universe is infinite. This has yet to be proven or disproven, but we can assure you there is no end to yourselves, your understanding, what you would call your journey of seeking, or your perceptions of the creation. That which is infinite cannot be many, for manyness is a finite concept. To have infinity, you must identify or define that infinity as unity. Otherwise, the term does not have any referent or meaning. It is an infinite creator, and there is only unity. Wow. In truth, it goes on to say, in truth, there is no right or wrong. There is no polarity, for all will be, as you would say, reconciled at some point through your dance, through the mind-body-spirit complex, which you amuse yourself by distorting in various ways at this time. This distortion is not in any case necessary. It is chosen by each of you as an alternative to understanding the complete unity of thought which binds all things. That's amazing how they say we just amuse ourselves by distorting all of our experiences through our mind, body, spirit complex, just so that we can have this experience. But that all of this distortion that we create, that none of it is actually necessary. That it is chosen by each of you as an alternative to understanding the complete unity of thought which binds all things. You are not speaking of similar or somewhat like entities or things. You are everything, every being, every emotion, every event, every situation. You are unity. You are infinity. You are light. You are love, light, light, love. You are. And that this is the law of one. So as we even just start to see some of the information that they've shared in there, it's really beautiful because it's simplistic, yet it's one of those things that we can really ponder on multiple different levels. There's no kind of goal or place that we're getting to with the answer, because we can continually ponder it and understand at different levels. So understanding too that a lot of times we can read material and we can come across teachings, and that as we come across these teachings, where we are at that level when we receive it is how much we can understand it. And many times we can actually come back to those same teachings and read it again at a later time when we have brought into ourselves more of our remembrance. And when we have more of our remembrance of our ascension mechanics and of who we are and of our truth, and we've cleared out more and more and more of all the lower vibrations of the fears, of all the lack of self-worth, the feelings of being unlovable, unworthy, all of these lower vibrations are all of the programs that have been placed on either by society or our ancestors about what we can or cannot do. And the more we liberate all of that out of our field, enlighten ourselves, that we actually can come back to a lot of the things that we have experienced before and be able to get a whole other layer of understanding of it. And all of this, the Keylontic science, all of the spiritual information from all of this ascension mechanics, all of these teachings, and even from places like the teachings of the Law of One, is things that we can continue to come back to. And every time we're always going to get another layer, we're going to get another level for that understanding. Because it seems so simple, and I love the simplicity of it, but it's so profound that it reaches through all of our dimensional aspects of who we truly are. So I just wanted to read a couple more perspectives of the Raw Collective. So they go on to talk about how long they've been serving the planet. And there is a beautiful website. It's called the law1.info that you can go there, and all of the books are posted on there for free. But what I really love is there is a search button on there that you can pick any word you want and type it in there. So say if you just type in Law of One, it will bring up anything and everything that was transcribed around this topic. And so that's what some of this is, in case you want to research more of it on your own. So just moving down, one of the beautiful things too is that they have a way for us to experience. They have a way for us to experience starting to work with the Law of One. So the questioner is asking, how can we, start to begin to use the Law of One? And this one in particular is asking, how can I use the Law of One to heal myself? Now, this is a huge thing on our planetary level because there is disease. There is a lot of pain and suffering, and there are a lot of things that we would love to cure or heal or have not afflicting us anymore within our body, our mind, our spirit, on any different level within us. So here's the question. If you could please state the Law of One and the laws of healing for me. So Ra responds, I am Ra, the Law of One. Go beyond the limitations of name, as you call vibratory sound complexes, may be approximated by stating that all things are one, and that there is no polarity, no right or wrong, no disharmony, but only identity. All is one. And that one is love, light, light, love, the infinite creator. One of the primal distortions of the Law of One is that of healing. Healing occurs when the mind-body-spirit complex realizes deep within itself the laws of one. That is, that there is no disharmony, no imperfection, that all is complete and whole and perfect. Thus, the intelligent infinity within this mind-body-spirit complex reforms the illusion of body, mind, or spirit to form congruent with the Law of One. The healer then acts as energizer or catalyst for this completely individual process. This one's huge for us because it is basically saying that within the idea of healing, that one has to completely let go of the idea of healing, and that to be within the state of the infinite creator, that the complex, so the mind body spirit complex, so the person then gets to reform the illusion of the body, mind, or spirit to a form that's congruent with the law of one. One of the greatest examples I have with this, and if any of you have researched or listened to any of Dr. Joe Dispenza's work and how he describes working within the void, what I have found is he's had some of the most beautiful ways of describing what I experience when I go off in meditation and sit within the field of 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 no thing, within the God source field. And as I sit there, it is this void, it's this infinite space. And as Dr. Joe Dispenza shares it, he gives kind of the scientific understanding of it. And that scientific understanding is about the polarity, the electromagnetic conduit that you are in a physical incarnate form, and how to use that conductivity, that electromagnetic current within you in order to pull things from the source field into your physical manifest reality. So as the law of one is stating here, that the healer then needs to reform the illusion of the body. Reforming the illusion of the body means that you're being able to go into this source field, being into this unity field, this law of one field, and within it, your mind is able to maybe focus, say, on the physical body or the organ or the area, but then you are going into a neutral, compassionate witness space, and as you allow your awareness to move out into the auric field or the morphogenetic field of that organ or your body or whatever, you're holding your full focus and awareness on your field, not on the disease, not on what you want to change. Your mind has completely let that go. There is no such thing as disease, because if you think of the disease, you will forever create the disease. It is a matter of just seeing the field around you, within the field of the infinite creator, within the field of the 0 point field. And as you sit there with your field open into it, you then get to recreate, reform the illusion of the body. And what that is to imagine what it is that you do want in your field. So you could call in, asking now to completely pull in the blueprint of my most vital, healthy body, my perfect, healthy body blueprint. What you're doing is you're bringing in an energetic blueprint. You're bringing in energy into your energy field, or the auric field of whatever aspect it is that you're going into the field to recreate and reform. And as you sit within the field, all you are doing is holding the energy of the new, having the new, being in the experience, or as it can be said, bringing that heightened emotion in of having it. One of the best ways I can describe a metaphor for this is if I was to tell you to imagine holding a puppy. I want you to describe holding the puppy as if you're holding it and having the experience now, how soft it is, how wiggly they are, maybe they're licking your cheek, and all of this experience of it happening in the now, in your imagination. That's the exact same thing. Not what would it be like if you were holding a puppy, but tell me what it's like now. Describe to me, you're holding a puppy, what is that like? And that's the exact same thing that you're pulling in from the field. And I love this because the Raw Collective is sharing the exact same thing, that the healer acts as an energizer or a catalyst. So again, we're an electromagnetic field within this incarnate body here, that we start to learn our ascension mechanics. And when we learn how our ascension mechanics works, we're understanding how our thought moves our intentions. So our thoughts get directed by the powerful pulsation of the intentions of our heart-based emotions, feelings, and that experiential process. So beautiful, again, super simple sounding. The idea of us letting go, because we get so invested with what we want. I want this, I want that, and it's hard for many to let that go, so that you can actually be in the experience of complete surrender, the neutral, compassionate witness, in order to bring it in. So that is beautiful how they touch on healing, because that's a big thing for us here on this earth plane. And just to wrap all of this up, the questioner is asking Ra some practices or exercises to perform to produce an acceleration towards the law of one. Ra answers, Ra, I am Ra. Exercise 1. This is the most nearly centered and usable within your illusion complex. The moment contains love. That is the teaching. That is the exercise. The moment contains love. That is the lesson goal of this illusion or density. The exercise is to consciously seek that love in awareness and understanding the distortions of it. Seek the love in every bit of your awareness. Seek love. Find love. Just find love in every single moment. That is exercise 1. Exercise 2 is that the universe is one being. When a mind-body-spirit complex views another mind-body-spirit complex, see the creator. Exercise 3, gaze within a mirror and see the creator. Mirror work is profound, so beautiful. And exercise 4, to wrap all of this up, gaze at the creation, which lies all around you, all about the mind-body-spirit complex of each entity, and see the creator. So in all things, see love and see the creator. I want to thank you for being with me through this video. I really appreciate being able to share this with you. With the love and the light of the infinite creator, and to living the law of one. If you are interested in any other things around this topic, please visit me at my website, withbecca.com, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.